All right, so this is my first screen share um, of doing some coding. Maybe in the future I'll do some live streaming, but this is a good way to start. So I've been building this application. I assume you can see my screen. For now, I'm calling it Friendcatchers. The basic premise is that nowadays, and probably the last 5 years or so, the uh, extensive niches that have been developed online are really representative of what we're interested in. So, what I mean by that is you can tell a lot about whether you can get along with someone well if you match on really specific things, especially online content. So, that could be YouTube channels, maybe subreddits, Twitter accounts, or just very specific topics. And until now, there really isn't a good way to find other people who are interested in the same things. So the goal is to create sort of this free form tagging system that allows you to meet other people with very similar specific interests. Everything out there right now is very general, or you only match on one dimension. So if you think about like a meetup group or Facebook group, everything is based around a single topic, and it's very hard to find people that have multiple overlapping topics. And I think it's the multiple overlap that actually creates the value, because if you think about your closest relationships with friends or with a partner, it's typically that you have multiple overlap in things that you're interested in, because that creates really interesting and in-depth conversation. So that's the goal here. Use the internet to find people that you have a really good chance of getting along with, as opposed to relying on the serendipity of meeting them in real life through another friend, or you know, just getting lucky. So I started out, like, I've already built a good amount of this, uh, as you could see, but I figure it's probably worth starting to build this in public and, show my process, because this isn't really a project that I'm going to turn into a business. It's just something that I want to exist in the world. So sharing the code is really not that big of an issue, or sharing the idea. If someone else builds this better, and that gets traction, well, then that's great, because I just want this to exist. So I wrote down some of the um, pending things that come to mind that I still have to do before I release it. But here's just a quick run through of what already exists. So what we have here is one of the main pages, which gives me the ability to define new tags. So the general concept here is I want to define tags and also have a score associated with them, because that way I can tell the system how to rank everyone else in the system according to my own algorithm, in a sense. So if there are certain topics I care about more than others, you know, by default, maybe they have 1 point, others have 3 points, 4 points, whatever you want. Or you could just do all of them as 1 point. And what I mean by that is, in this example, if someone else matches on basketball, they get 1 point. If someone else matches on ASDF, which isn't actually a thing, I'm just testing, they get 3 points. So I can like add as many buckets as I want. So let's say I want to match on things that revolve around vegan. And that's really important to me. So maybe it's 4 points each. And I can choose the color to be green or any of these here. So green seems the most appropriate. It doesn't really matter. Now that I have that bucket, I can select it here and just start typing a topic. So maybe I like the SimNet Nutrition YouTube channel. Here we go. And I like Mike the Vegan. And maybe I just want the general topic vegan or whole food plant-based. And it shows me, of course, there's only one person. Once another person also happens to type in the same thing, then it becomes a public topic, just like basketball, that you can type ahead and see. So this will prevent people from just putting in random things, but Also, what this means is the topic set is totally crowdsourced. Okay, so any matches in here is going to get 4 points. Anything in here is 1 point, etc. Then you move on to this potential friends page. As you can tell, I'm not great with naming. The idea here, and this is still work in progress, but I wrote this script that scores all the users. So it'll grab all the users in the system that have at least one matching tag, and then it'll run through all my topics and my buckets of scoring and give a score to every single user. So that way I can rank them by score and see who I am a best match with. And it'll also show me which topics I actually match on, and then in parenthesis, the score that I attributed to that. And then I haven't built connections yet, but that'll basically be, hey, if you want to connect with someone, you send them a request, kind of like LinkedIn, and then you can start messaging with them. That's pretty much it. That's where I'm at so far. So some of the things I still need to do, because I just want to get an initial version out that people can start playing around with. I need to polish up that potential friends directory. I'm in the middle of adding the ability to upload a picture, the ability to delete or edit these buckets, because currently you can't change the name or delete them. I need to make the devise views prettier. So as you can see, it's still the default. The ability to invite a friend, I may make this invite only. Editing or viewing your individual profile. I also may make this profile open to the public so that there's like an authenticated version if you match with someone within the app, but also a public version that you can share to indicate to other people all your interests and sort of make it an easy directory for people to understand what you care about. And then on the connections page, just having a list of connections with the status, so pending, accepted, the ability to send a request, and the ability to message with them. So there's quite a bit here. I think where I'm going to start is just cleaning up these devise views, because that's sort of the lowest hanging fruit. So to do that, I'm just going to, and I don't think I'm going to narrate this too closely. I'm just going to start working, and then wherever I feel appropriate, I'll just start talking. So I'm just going to head over to Tailwind UI, and we're going to grab, let's see, sign in. So this is the login form. Now, paste it in Tailwind UI, just need to adjust it a little bit. So there's no free trial, so I'll just remove this. Email address, password, forgot password, sign in. And then we don't need the OAuth section. So let's see, we have it running. So I'll refresh, and we could see that it's here and the old one is here. So now I just need to make these forms connect with the visual version. So we're going to take this form field, replace this. And then I don't need this submit because any button by definition is going to, or a button in a form is just assumed to be the submit button. So I think we're good. Then we just need the device links. So if I refresh, it broke. Let's see. Maybe it's this required true. Nope. Oh, obviously, I need an end tag for this form. Cool. Okay. So now we just need to bring these sign up and forgot password up. But I'm just going to do it manually. So we need sign up and forgot password. And I'll worry about how it looks later. Cool. So now when I sign in, it works. Cool. Now this button should be blue. So we'll just make this blue. All right. Then we want this, I don't have a logo quite yet, but instead of that image, I'll just do a pseudo logo from the navigation. Okay, good enough. All right, forgot password. So now I'm just gonna copy this whole thing and we'll head into password reset. Nope, passwords new. All right, so it's just an email field. So I could probably just delete this. And we're gonna change the button text. And the form. And then we'll probably do I should have deleted these conditions. All right, so we've logged in. Already on forgot password, so I think that should be good. And yeah, then I need to go back to the login and remove these conditions. Okay, so now I refresh, still good. Forgot password, good. Oh, I have to remove that. Okay, good enough. Now we actually want to make sure this sends. So I'm going to use letter opener in local environment. So bundle add letter opener. Oh, it's underscore. Got it. Okay. This should have been in development. Bundle. And then here. Okay. So let's restart the server and see if this works. If you caught that quickly, FS is short for form and start, which uses this proc file. So it opens up Webpack dev server and log. I should add Sidekick here, actually. But I don't think I have it. Yeah, I haven't installed Sidekick yet. Even though I have a job already in there. Okay, so let's see if this reset password works. Missing host to link to. Ah, okay. We need some more mail settings here. I'm going to open up another code base. Just need to add this localhost 5000. Okay, let's try this again. I may need to restart the server. It looked like something came through. Okay. Cool. So this just came up. Now if I go to change my password, it uses the wrong browser. It's using my default browser, but this is Chrome. Okay, well, it works, so that's good. I'll need to do the actual reset password form, but I think I'll move on for now because this is at least usable. All right, so we're signed in. So we did the sign-in form, reset password, request, reset password form, sign up page, and that should be it. So we did sign up form, we did reset password. All right, let's do delete/edit buckets now. So this should be fairly easy. So we're gonna go to home index. So here we have a view component that is for this page that gets all the user's buckets and loops through them to display them. So you can see here, this is sort of the header part of the bucket, dynamically selecting the color. So I think I just need like an edit button. All right, so I'll drop in a pencil. Right next to the name. Okay, that looks not bad. We probably want this a little bit opaque or transparent. Okay, looks good. So now we need, if the bucket that we're currently editing is this bucket, we need to turn this into an input field. So this should be like editing bucket new name, because we don't want to bind it directly to the bucket's name because it'll make it hard to cancel the action. But maybe we just auto save it. Now we'll do this. So we'll create a new variable. And then in addition to setting the ID, we'll set the bucket new name equal to the bucket's name. So that way it doesn't look like it changes. All right, so let's see how it's not gonna look good, but when I click edit, it fills it in. Okay. So obviously we don't want it to do for all of them. So that's where vif comes in. So if editing bucket is this bucket's ID, there we go. So now it only works for this one. Now we want the style to remain the same. So we'll also make this bold. All right, so this is items center. I think we need another div here. So it doesn't treat every individual item as a flex item. bold. Okay, VF. So now this should actually go above, and then we could do V else, so that only one of them show at a time. Cool. So you could see it just directly replaced it. But we don't want this input form to look like that. It should be a little bit better. So let's make the background transparent. All right. Only issue is it kind of shoves out the pencil icon. So maybe this icon should actually be on the left. Something broke. Oh, never mind. It just didn't autofocus. That's interesting. We need this to autofocus when you click the pencil because it's not even clear that it's, well, let's just add a bottom border so at least you know to click into it. And then we can do, I just know that the autofocusing is a bit complicated. So we'll do border B, border, we'll, okay, let's see how that goes. All right, this is at least a little bit better. Now, this pencil is also editing the number of points per match. And we also need the ability to delete this. So I think we need to add some more space under this. Something like, yeah, I need to drop this down another layer because we're going to move on to a new line. And this is no longer a flex, it is flex call, which we may not even need. Okay, so it looks the same, but now we can add another row that contains some buttons. So let's say save, cancel, delete. Cool. Now these are text small font normal. And margin top 3. And then the padding on the bottom should be small. Okay, so that kind of works, but obviously the padding is wrong. So this is getting a little bit messy, but you just need to make it work first. So we need to do a little bit of condition. So we need to check, and I keep having to type this. So I'm going to make a function. That way, we can do this check multiple times. All right, so if it's editing the bucket, then we want padding top to be 5, padding bottom 2, or else both 5. Now we'll remove this. Okay, so it looks good then, and then when we click it, the padding adjusts and it looks good there. So now let's wire up this cancel button just for convenience. So when you click it, editing bucket becomes empty again. There we go. Now we need something for the number as well. So this will be editing bucket new score. And similar thing we did here, we'll do here for the score. All right, so I sort of need to separate out the score number from the text here. So this is like we need the points to always show. So this v else needs to be only on the score. I have no idea how this is going to look, but let's see. All right, so I guess the v if and v else has to sort of be at the same level. Oh, that's okay. So that looks fine. And when I do this, that looks right. It's just weird because I didn't change the variable. So this is on new score. And when we click this, we also have to say the editing bucket new score is equal to the bucket score. All right, so that looks right. Now we'll adjust the sizing. So we want the input to be really small. Let's try with 12. Still overflowing. We also want this maybe to be a bit shorter. So let's play around. Okay, 32 looks good. And then for this, we could do 8 or maybe 6. And then we'll center this. Okay. So this will be with 6, text center. This should be a number as well. But then it's going to make it with the... Okay. So I'm going to just take some inspiration from the create a new form and see what I did there. I'm just going to copy this. Minimum of 1, step of 1. Okay. So we need to make this a bit wider to fit those arrows. Okay, that looks good. This pencil got messed up because now it is sort of a flex item. So inline doesn't really make sense anymore. And we're going to need a margin right. We actually need... There we go. Okay. This is looking pretty good. Now let's actually save this. So this bucket on save, so this takes no parameter because we separated out the variables. So now we're going to make patch request to user buckets. And then we'll provide the name. Oh, we need the ID. So that'll be editing bucket. And then the name is the new name, score. On the response, we're just gonna fetch the topics again so that it reloads. So if it works, we could just reload all these topics in buckets, but that seems kind of dumb. Since we know what the changes were and we know that it worked, we can just sort of fake the update without having to reload data. So to do that, I'm going to actually pass in the bucket. And then if it works, we can set this bucket, we can just set the name equal to the new name and set this equal to the new score. The only issue with this is these buckets are sorted based on score. So I think I'm just going to reload the topics. Maybe extra requests and data, but it's easy. So I'll just call get topics. Okay, we don't have this route, or we do. We just need to do something with it. So we need a patch or update. We need to set the user bucket. So this will be the ID. Oh, we didn't update color. Oh man. At this point, we might as well just reuse this editing form. Because I have to incorporate this color if someone wants to edit the color. Not that it's super important, but just for consistency. So we need this to actually replace this. That is weird. All right, so I'm actually gonna like undo almost everything I just did. And we're gonna start over a little bit. So I'll just need to create sort of a variant of the add form to also take care of editing the form. But we can still use this editing bucket. So I'm gonna keep us there. The thing we need to get rid of is all these input forms and the VIFs and all that. So the pencil icon is going to stay there. Let's just make sure that this is still looking good. Okay. So we can remove this. Get rid of this. Sorry for backtracking, but this is all part of it. All right, so now we're back where we were before. We have the pencil icon, which sets the editing bucket, and we have just the regular non-conditional bucket information as is. Now, when we click this pencil icon, what we really want to do is actually just not even display this bucket. We want to use the bucket form in place if this is the bucket we're editing. So let's just see how that works. And then you can see on the bucket form, it emits cancel. And this is for adding a bucket. But when we hit cancel, we're actually going to make editing bucket to nothing. So that should accomplish a similar thing. Now, if that's not the case and we're not editing, then we'll just show the normal bucket. But this is just the header. So this actually needs to be wrapped once again. And let's say a generic template. So both the header and the body need to be wrapped. All right, let's see how this goes. So when I click edit, nothing happens. So it has the editing bucket as 3. Oh, it's because we didn't write the function, or I undid it. So the editing bucket equals bucket.self.id. Cool, there we go. Okay, so now if we're editing, let's just pass into this bucket form the prop that represents the bucket. So now we'll go back into the bucket form. We'll accept a prop called bucket. And this is kind of going to also act as the indicator if we're in editing mode as opposed to creating a new one, right? Because if the bucket exists, then we're editing. So I see new bucket name, new bucket points. Okay, so actually the way to do this is when this component gets created, let's just assign new bucket points equal to the bucket score and the name. So let's see if that works. So when I click this, it should fill in the form, yep, with the name there. And then when I start typing, it already works because that's the same thing. And when I click never mind, it brings me back because if you see here, never mind emits a cancel event. But we do need another button, which is actually deleting it. So let's, I started playing around with this concept of like a generic view button. So let's see how that's going to work. It just takes in some props to make this really easy. So I'm going to call delete, and we'll make this just like X. And then when I go to view button, let's just add one here called X. Or maybe it should be trash. And this is just the path because the SVG is wrapped around all of this, as you can see here. So what this component tries to do is just sub out the actual button or the actual icon path, and then the button properties like the color. So that way it's really easy to just spin up buttons. So I'll make this trash. And there we go. We have a delete button. But it's a bit, this is a bit odd that delete is in the center and so prominent. It almost looks like it's what you should click. So actually, that's even weirder. Okay, I'm gonna make this a secondary action, kind of like never mind, because it should not be this prominent. Okay, that's a bit better. Not great, but it's just the first version. So we're gonna emit delete, and we're only gonna show this button if bucket exists, right? Because that's our proxy for editing mode. So when I edit, it's still there. I go never mind. But if I go add bucket, it doesn't show. So that looks like it's working. Now, if I did this and add bucket, it's probably going to show both of them. Yeah, but that's okay because they operate independently. Now, when I click save, I feel like there's two different functions here because in the edit mode, we're actually updating the bucket. In new, we're creating a bucket. So add bucket. Yeah, this needs to be dynamic. So if bucket exists, then we're going to do edit bucket, or else we're going to do add bucket. And here's where we're going to make the request. And it's pretty much the same thing. So emitting done, let's see what that does. When we emit done, it says adding bucket equals false. So that's not exactly what we want. We actually want this. We want this to be, when it's done, then the editing bucket is nothing again. Kind of like with at cancel. So now we need the actual Rails route. Oh wait, when it submits, we want this, and then we also want to reload the topics, just like it does here. So that way it resorts the buckets. All right. So here we're gonna see if this works. Yeah, I know these sort of responses are not the most useful or best practice, but just getting it to work. All right, so let's give this a try. So we're going to edit this default bucket to say default 2 and be worth 2 points and the color orange. When we click save, nothing happens. When we click save, okay, click event. Ah, okay. I need to pass the ID. Usually I just pass the ID as a parameter, but using the default resources route in Rails makes it sort of a requirement in terms of a format. And I don't always get this right. So let's see. User bucket 3. So maybe I need, this is so pathetic that I don't even know. Let's try this. Not found. Okay, forget it. User buckets, and then the ID. All right, so that hit the right route, but it was just an error. This should be user buckets params. Cool, that worked. And you can also see it updated here because it's all dynamic when it updates, when it calls the get topics. It refetches all the topics with the buckets and all the components are intertwined. So that is great. The last thing I'm going to do and then call it here because I'm hungry and I want to eat breakfast is we're going to get this delete working. Oh, that wasn't right. The bucket form has a default color of blue. So we need to fix that. New bucket color. Got it. So it's defaulting to blue, but really what we want is if this bucket's color exists, this is probably not going to work. And if it doesn't, then it's blue. Huh. Okay. I guess that did work. And then add bucket. Nope, did not work. Okay. There we go. Okay, now we're good. So now we just need this delete to work. So the delete will emit delete, and then we need to pick up on that here. Actually, we could just delete the bucket directly from here. Obviously, if we have add and delete here, then sorry, add and edit, then we're definitely going to do bucket. So then we're just going to do the same old thing, and it's already written. So we're going to delete this bucket. We don't need any parameters. We're going to emit done, which is going to reload topics and make the thing disappear. So let's see. Delete bucket is what we're going to call when we click it instead of emitting delete. So I'm going to delete this one, and nothing happens. Invalid foreign key. All right, so obviously we can't delete a bucket if there are topics that are currently assigned to it. So I'm gonna have to go into here. And delete the user topics as a dependent. But then I need to go to user topic. And if it gets destroyed, then it's going to check. So user topic, just to actually go over the schema quickly. So we have general topics, which are shared among everyone. We have user buckets, which is what we've been dealing with. We have user scores, which is the score between two users. We have user topics, which is a reference table between a user and a topic, and it also belongs it to a bucket. We have users, and yeah, that's it. So with this, we're going to need to, when we destroy the bucket, we're going to need to destroy the user topics. But then when we destroy the user topics, we're going to also want to delete the general topic if that was the last user who had that topic, just so it doesn't, so it's sort of like a self-cleaning system. So that should do the trick. Let's see if that actually fixes it. And it did. Sweet. Okay, cool. So now we have the full bucket editing. We have deleting. Never mind. Add bucket. Let's still make sure this still works. And it does. Let me just do another one for 5 points. So the way it's sorting is it's doing lowest points to highest points because I figure most topics are going to go in the lower points. So yeah, we're all good. So I'm going to call it here and maybe do the next part later today. But yeah, I'm gonna stop for now. We can mark that as done. And yeah, all right. See you guys next time.